Hi guys, and welcome to the Shrewsbury Biscuit podcast. I'm Alex Whiteley, and we've got a great episode for you today. We're speaking to a good friend of the show, Dave Corteen, who came on our show just before the pandemic, and I'm talking like literally just weeks before the pandemic all hit. I remember, if you remember the W60 Tennis tournament that happened, there were like tennis balls all around Shrewsbury, brightly coloured, all painted different styles. And I just remember, I think we talk about this in the episode, at the bottom of the cop, there was a red one that leads into Greyfriars. And I remember looking at that tennis ball and just seeing floodwater, because we had those tennis balls and then there was floodwaters, really bad. And then the pandemic hit. It was just, especially if you've got a small business or you had events planned or you're going to go on holiday, or, you got family, that part of life was just terrible for a lot of people. But good fond memories of speaking to Dave Corteen, I gotta tell you that now. But this is all about the new tournament coming up, the W100 tennis tournament, and this was great. Dave's always been a great supporter of the Shrewsbury Biscuit. He comes back into Shrewsbury now and again, but he's all around the UK, and he listens to the Shrewsbury Biscuit on his commute, which is really nice to hear. I love that. I love hearing people who really enjoy the show. It just boosts my ego. That's what it does. But anyway, I'll leave you with this episode, and at the end I will give you the dates and everything that's important about this episode, so make sure you stick around after this interview. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Dave Corteen. Enjoy. Hey guys, and welcome to the Shrewsbury Biscuit podcast. I'm Alex Whiteley. We're joined by a friend of the show who I haven't spoken to in a while, but is definitely a friend of this show, and that's our good friend Dave Corteen. How are you, Dave? You good?
Yeah, I'm great. Thanks, Alex. How are you?
I'm really good. I'm really happy to be speaking to you. It's nice to catch up with yourself. It has been a long time, but I just remember you coming on the show very early days into the biscuit, and we've always had a good conversation, and we've always had a good rapport.
I love listening to the biscuit. As you know, I spent half my life in Shrewsbury and half my life in Suffolk, where my family live, and so the Shrewsbury Biscuit podcast is a great way for me to stay in touch with what's going on. When I'm doing the journey up the A14 between home and Shrewsbury, I'm often listening to you and catching up on what's going on. So I love the work you do on the biscuit, and I'm really delighted to be back on. It is a few years. I think it was pre-lockdown, Alex. That's how long ago I think it was since we last spoke.
I think the last time I got you on a podcast, I think it was possibly with USUC. I feel like we had a few beers, and we got a bit sweary on the last podcast you came on, but USUC isn't about anymore. Yes, it was definitely pre-lockdown when we spoke. Gosh, that seems like such a distant memory. It really does.
Absolutely.
How are things at Mosaic? Are you still in capacity there? How are things going?
So we've got the Shrewsbury Club. We've got a couple of other clubs that we own as well, and other areas of the country, hence why I'm sort of not based the whole time in Shrewsbury. But the Shrewsbury Club, I have to say, obviously lockdown was really tough for us. It was a really tricky time, but then we're really pleased how it's bounced back. We've got just a fantastic staff team there, and members that just really enjoy being part of the club. I think it's got a really good vibe, and so the club's now at 6,000 members. It's the highest it's ever had in its getting on for 18 year history now, and we even have a waiting list at times for people to be able to join. So we're really grateful for that. We don't rest on our laurels. We still need to work hard. We still need to keep investing in the club, and we still need to keep looking at how we can learn to be better. But fortunately, given where we were sort of 3 years ago, when it all looked a bit grim with the pandemic, we're in a great spot, thank you, and we're hugely grateful for that fact.
Did you get like a mass rush towards your gyms when lockdown did open and gyms could open again? Was it like a case of, whoa, like, it's so good to see everybody? Or was it slow? Did they trickle back in?
No, I think the vast majority of people who had been members prior to lockdown were really keen to come back in the main. And I think particularly because loads of people just really missed the social aspects of it. So, we were allowed our exercise and doing exercise and all of those sorts of things in lockdown. It was the one thing we were allowed out to do was our 1 hour of exercise. And I think I think that just brought home to people that actually what's really important about exercising is the social side of it, the crack that goes with it. And that's what people said to us more than anything they missed. And I think also they realize how much benefit they get for their mental health from actually working out in a controlled environment with people they know and instructors that are really friendly. And so I think that brought the majority of people back. Without a doubt, there were some of our members, particularly those that are sort of slightly older and maybe even in my age bracket, who were a bit more worried about the whole, COVID. And so they were far more reticent about coming back, and they wanted to come back, but that took them a bit longer. But I think the other thing that we really benefited and why we've been able to grow the club is that I think if there was anything good that came out of the pandemic from our perspective, it was the fact that the message got out there that actually it's really important that you look after your own health and well-being. And actually, as a pandemic, COVID was known to affect those people that were less physically fit more, it affected them more, I should say, than those people that were fit. And so I think we've seen a lot of people who previously hadn't joined health clubs who decided, I need to do a bit more and I need to do some exercise. And so we've seen people sign up to our clubs that probably had never been in a health club before. And so that's been really encouraging for us to see. And it, as I say, if there's one good thing to come out of the pandemic, if it's reminded people of the importance of looking after yourself and doing a little bit of exercise, then that's really good.
A bit of a self-investment when it comes to health, I feel like. And also I feel Shrewsbury is a very sporty town naturally anyway. There's always somebody jogging about. There's always a million people cycling along the roads. The football club has a warm place in people's hearts and the community. I've been learning an awful lot about that recently. There seems to be always something to do with sport happening in Shrewsbury. It's like a natural thing here, isn't it? Do you find?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Shrewsbury is a lovely town. I love spending my 2 or 3 days a week in the town. And you're right, and it's got everything that you need to kind of get outside and be active. I mean, whether it be the quarry or there's beautiful walks around the town. And if you go a bit further outside the town, obviously you've got the various different walks, the Long Mind, etc. That people can really that are just stunning. I mean, they're stunning settings. So yeah, I completely agree with you, and I think also there's a really good vibe about the town, and I think people are key to look after themselves, and there are so many different options that you can use. One option is to join a club or a gym, but one option is to go join walking groups. There's so many different activities that can be done around the town. You're absolutely right.
And I know one of the stronger points that come from the Shrewsbury Club is tennis. You guys are tennis mad at Shrewsbury Club, and it's good because I don't think there's. I know there's a strong tennis presence in Telford. They do the tournaments there, but as far as Shrewsbury concerned, I think there's just you, right? That does like major tournaments and stuff in Shrewsbury.
Yeah, I mean, we've sort of grown this ITF World Tennis Tour event that we've had. We've grown it over the last 12 years that we've been at the Shrewsbury Club, and it's now become a really big event on the international tennis calendar. So we're really proud of the fact that there are only 17 other cities in the world or towns that host an event of this size on the ITF calendar, and one of them is Shrewsbury, and we just think that's so cool that we get to bring such a big event to the town. It's the biggest women's tennis event in the UK outside of the grass court season. And And last year, as every year, we sort of get players coming to play that are in the top 50 in the world. So you are seeing some of the best tennis players. So yeah, it's become a really big event on the tennis calendar. It's one of the biggest events in the UK, and at ITF level, it's one of the biggest tennis events on their calendar in the world. And we bring it to Shrewsbury, and we should all be proud of that, because we're only able to do this because of the support we get from guys in the media like you that help us promote it, and sponsors from the town that actually enable us. This event costs us as a business £100,000 to stage. It gets bigger every year, and we only can do that if we get support from local companies through sponsorship. And we're delighted that we get that, and very honoured and very grateful for that. So yeah, so it is. Don't want to sound to make it to be something that sounds too big, but actually, it is a really good deal for the town. I mean, the Sport England do research into these things, and they think an event of this level will bring in about £450,000 to £500,000 worth of business to the town. So this is it's great for the Shrewsbury Club, obviously, but we're really proud of the fact that we think it's really, really great for the town as well.
Of course, I mean, I was in Liverpool. When was it? It was a few months ago. I was in Liverpool with my family. We went for a weekend, and they had the international gymnastics on there, and we were. I'm not even joking, right? It was buzzing around Albert Docks. There were thousands of people around. There were competitors. There were families. There were people that were watching. It was absolutely buzzing. So I've seen that for myself, how a sporting event can just bring people in by their droves. And you need hotels, you need restaurants, you need somewhere to go and look at it, surrounding areas, nice things to look at. Yeah, I can see why the local economy would be massively improved from an event like this. Last time I spoke to you, it was the W60 you were doing. What's the difference between the W60 and the W100? It's just the number of contestants that are in there?
No, it's the prize money, actually, Alex. So a W60 means that the combined prize money is £60,000, and a W100 means that the combined prize money is £100,000. So, wow. The number of competitors are always the same. There are 24 players that go into qualifying, and then another 32 that go into the main draw. So around 50 singles players will be entering the event, and on the doubles side, there's 16 pairs, so another 32 players enter the doubles. Obviously, some double up. But yeah, so we'll be bringing around about 70 players, and I think the other difference between a W60 to a W100, aside from the prize money, is that the higher up you get of players in terms of their world rankings, the more of an entourage they bring with them. So last year was the first W100 that we've ever staged. We've obviously, as you mentioned before, done the W60. So we were really taken aback, I think, by the sheer number of people that we had, because each player was bringing with them a coach and a physio and maybe a hitter. So if you got like 50, 60 players, you've got 240 people actually around just on the playing side of it, before you add in the officials and the spectators. So yeah, that's sort of it felt a big step up for us as a club to go from a 60 to a 100, and clearly that sort of panned out in the players that we had, and for people that don't know, the winner last year was a Czech player called Markéta Vondrousova, who then went on to just a few weeks ago, last month or so, won the Wimbledon ladies title. So it's quite cool. She actually only holds at the moment 2 titles in tennis, and that's the Shrewsbury W100 and the Wimbledon ladies single champion. That's quite a cool stat, really. So we're hoping that tradition is going to continue. So whoever wins in October, we're hoping they go on to win Wimbledon in 2024. So that's a great story.
Dave knows how the show works, and he's definitely just created himself a soundbite. You know that. You know what's just happened there. I've just taken that clip mentally, and I put it as our reel. That's fantastic. A claim to fame that you found the Wimbledon champion before she went on and won it. That's wonderful.
Yeah. And I think the tennis, in tennis players, they're just so friendly as well. So they do talk. It's like with football and certain other sports, there is a tendency, largely because of player safety, whatever, to keep a little bit of a distance. So you might be able to catch up with a footballer or wave to them or whatever, and you can wait for them at the end of the match day at the door before they're getting on the coach, but that's about it. Whereas the players are just happy to mingle and around the club, and so they'll sit in the club and have a coffee, and they'll chat to members as well. So I think that's the thing. I know when Marketa got to the final at Wimbledon in that week, everybody was cheering her on as she got closer to the final, and people were going, I just remember I sat at this table and I had a coffee with her, and now there she is at the Wimbledon final. And there was another player actually called Karolina Mukova, who was also coming back from injury, and she played at Shrewsbury, lost in the second round, and then went on to the French Open at Roland Garros, which is their version of Wimbledon, which is before Wimbledon. So that was even just 4 months after she played at Shrewsbury, and she made the final. So yeah, we had another line that she only got to the second round at Shrewsbury, but she was able to get to the final of the Grand Slam. So there are all those players that sort of you get chance to spend time with and chat with and talk with when you're in the club. So it creates memories for the people that are around the club, and it's a great story that they can remember sort of chatting to them in the bar, and then there they are watching them on telly at one of the biggest tennis events of the year.
How difficult is it to attract players of that caliber, though? I mean, do you have to scour the internet for them, or do you just dangle a carrot there and wait for them to come to you?
Yeah, it's basically how the tennis circuit works is that players will just be working out their schedules in terms of where they're going to play. So you only earn your money as a tennis player predominantly, particularly at the level that we're talking about, where players are sort of not in the top 20, top 30 in the world. You predominantly earn your money from prize money. So players are going to plan where they're going to play through the season according to where they think they're most likely to pick up prize money. So partly it's about, and obviously the bigger the event, the more prize money you get. But obviously the more chance you've got of going out early, and clearly the longer you stay in a tournament, the more prize money you get. So there's not a lot that we can do beyond being part of the calendar, and it will come down. Who we get will come down to partly what other events are up against us. So what other WTA or other ITF events are up against us that week, where the players are planning to be able to be, and so if there's like other tournaments in Europe, they'll have sort of like a 2, 3, 4 week tournament calendar that they might follow around in Europe. Last year we were lucky in that the Billie Jean King Cup was following on from where we were, and some teams were competing in that in Glasgow. So some players came across and used that as their warm up for the Billie Jean King Cup that was going to take place later on. And then it simply comes down to where you think you're actually going to get in, because every tournament is based on where your world ranking is. So the first 20 places will go to the top 20 in terms of their world ranking when they enter. Then you have 6 wild cards and 6 people that come in through the qualifying to make up the 32 in the main draw. So you'll find players will enter a number of different tournaments. It's a bit like when in the days years ago when you used to apply for university, you'll put down your 4 or 5 choices and you'll put down a priority order, and then you'll look a couple of weeks out and decide which one you're most likely to get in, and you'll pick that one. And we were, so the highest ranked player that we had was a Ukrainian player called Annalina Kalinina. And she was 45 in the world when she played Shrewsbury. Vondrousova and Mukova, who've gone on to be now both top 20 and Vondrousova's top 10, at the time were coming back from injury. So their world ranking had dropped. So they were looking to play in tournaments where they could pick up some points and try and boost their rankings. And it obviously worked for them. So so we're just really hopeful that we get players that at the right time. I'll give you another example actually whilst we're on that. So we were approached actually about 3 or 4 months ago by Elina Svitolina's manager, who said, look, she's coming back. She's just had a baby. She's former number 3 in the world. She's coming back. She's taking time off for maternity leave, going to start competing again. We've worked out a provisional schedule. She's got Shrewsbury on it. Are you happy? Are you able to cope with it? And obviously she's a really big name. That would be absolutely fantastic to get her to come along. in reality, what's happened since then is her comeback's gone way better than she expected. She's got a lot deeper at Wimbledon, where she got to the semi-final, and the French Open, where I think she got to the quarterfinals. So her ranking will be so high that she'll probably go and choose another event that she previously didn't think she would get into. So she's not going to come to Shrewsbury. But there will be players that are coming back from injury and so on, whose rankings have dropped down, and that we may get to come to the club. But it's part of the excitement that you never really know who you're going to get until the day before, when they actually turn up and sign in. So we get a few ideas of 2 weeks out, but there we are.
Has anybody absolutely like rocked your world and you're like, oh my god, as if they're coming? Is there any like whether it's down to ranking or whether it's because they're just one of the classic pros?
Yeah, I mean, I think we had Jack Draper, so we had a men's tournament, and Jack Draper came along, and we knew he was going to go on and be a really, really, really good player. Yeah, so that was really good news to get him, and he came to Shrewsbury and he won that as a 25. He's now gone on. I mean, at the moment he's injured, but he was top 50, and if he gets back from injury, he'll definitely be a British number one of the future, and probably a top 20 in the world. He's just a really great player. Looking back with hindsight, so this is another good story for you. So Emma Raducanu, 12 months before she won the US Open, couldn't get into Shrewsbury. She didn't make it into Shrewsbury because her ranking wasn't high enough, so she didn't even make it into qualifying. And then literally 12 months later, she was winning the US Open. So that's one we missed out on, because it would have been wonderful to have had Emma Raducanu.
So she's probably never going back. Like, no, it wasn't good enough for you, Shrewsbury, and never.
Well, you never. I mean, I think it's extremely unlikely, because the quality of, well, not necessarily the quality. She's a great player, but actually her appeal means that some of the bigger events are going to offer a wild card, because they know that her box office appeal is huge, and so she would be a player that would be able to get into a WTA 250 or a WTA 500, irrespective of her ranking, because the organisers would think she's going to sell tickets. So yeah, I mean, from a ranking perspective, if she's back and fit and playing, then the W100 would be the type of event that she needs to play. But I think, I think it's extremely unlikely she'd come to Shrewsbury. But yeah, I think it's going to. I mean, I suppose the one that we're kind of thinking, be interesting to see what happens, is Caroline Wozniacki, who's a former world number one Grand Slam champion. She's just come back, having had a long time out, having had two children. So she's been out for quite a while. So she's got to build her ranking back up again. She'll get some wild cards, but a W100 would be the sort of event that she's going to be playing at. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens to her over the next few months, and particularly at the US Open, which is coming up at the end of this month. I mean, if she doesn't go deep into the US Open, then she's got to be somebody that may well have Shrewsbury on her schedule. And what a great story that would be. But you never know. It's all up in the air.
How does sponsorship work because I know, like with a football club, if you have sponsor boards along the side and stuff and big sponsors everywhere, that goes towards the club. But for the sponsors, for you, does it go towards the competition, or does it go towards the players and split towards the prize money? I mean, how does that work?
Yeah, no, so the prize money is really straightforward. So that's got to be paid by the host association. So the prize money is paid for by the LTA, obviously, who organise tennis in the UK. So that's paid for by them. And then the rest of the costs of organising the tournament are split between us as the Shrewsbury Club, the host club, and the LTA. So largely they're responsible for what I would describe as the professionals around it. So the line judges, the officials, they'd buy all the tennis balls, for example. They'd pay for the accommodation of the players. They would pay for all the tournament people that go around actually logistically making the tournament happen, the referees, the supervisors, etc. And then the cost of actually putting the event on, so the stadium seating, the PA systems, the big video screens that we have, the hospitality tents, all of that is down to the club. So that's how the costs are split. And then in terms of the income, the income is basically that we generate from sponsorship comes to us as the club to help us offset those costs. And then if we do make a surplus, and we're kind of we struggle to get there, we're happy if we break even. But if we were to make a surplus, then that would get split 50-50 between us and the LTA. So we're playing for the stadium seats, the hospitality tents, and all sort of the products that go on and around making the event happen. And that's why we run a series of events, Alex. So not only do we have the tennis and people paying to watch the tennis, but we put a series of events on through the week to help generate revenue and to make use of the marquees that we've got, and actually to make it feel more like we describe it as a tennis festival. There is so much going on. So on the Saturday, which is semi-final day, which this year will be the 21st of October, we have a family fan zone day. So we've partnered up with Ellesmere College, and they are putting on a whole host of different kids' activities, face painting, different challenges of all sorts, arts and crafts, everything else. So families can come along and join in, and then watch the semi-finals of the singles tennis on the Saturday. So that's a big draw for us. So we get sponsorship in to sponsor the event, as I mentioned with Ellesmere College. We're making the kids free on Saturday, so they get to watch the tennis for free and join in for free. But the adults have to pay the tickets, and that all helps to kind of offset our costs. So yeah, we put a number of events on through the week that actually help us to generate income and cover the cost, but that money comes to us.
There's your ingenious tennis balls that were placed around town as well, which were wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah, do you remember those? Yeah, that was great. Yeah, we had 12 of those around the town for a tennis ball trail that people could walk around, and we got the students at Shrewsbury College to decorate them all up. And yeah, we had about 300 people that entered that did the trial and entered to win prizes. So yeah, it worked well. It was a fun way of getting the message out there about the event.
When I think it's weird though, because when I think of your tennis balls, I think of a pandemic and I think of floods because there was one at the bottom of Wild Cop, and as you're going towards Greyfriars, there was just the whole river was flooded and you couldn't get down there actually. And I just remember that sad little tennis ball just stood there like, don't go this way.
Yeah. And of course we couldn't change the expression on his face, so it still looked like he was smiling, but he had completely wet. He had trench foot because it was like so flooded. Yeah, we should have put wellies on him. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. We literally just put them out and then to start the trail, and then it flooded. Yeah, and then shortly afterwards, the pandemic struck, and so they were. It was the tennis ball trail for the tennis event that never happened. So,
I blame you, Dave. Blame you all for all of it.
Yeah, exactly.
I've never been to like Wimbledon. I know you've just been to Wimbledon, and I know you're a big fan of tennis. I've never been at a professional tennis match. Actually, no, I have. I remember there was a tennis tournament when I was really small, and this was when I lived in Telford. So, gosh, it must have been 9 or 10. And we actually snuck into the Telford International Arena, and while there was something going on, and we were watching the tennis from up in the rafters, and the security guard was like, "Oi!" and chased us out. I remember that. But no, I haven't actually watched a professional tennis. And like, I remember watching Wimbledon this year, the final between Alcaraz and Djokovic. We were sat with my wife's family, and it was such a tense moment. That whole match, it was a proper mind game between them two. And you go back to your conversation earlier about tennis players actually being all right people. Is it a shock to you sometimes when you see these really nice sports people and they shake hands, you have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, and then they go into this war zone that is the match, and they just change personality? Is that a weird transformation for you?
Yeah, I mean, there's a great quote. I think it's from Billie Jean King that says, "Tennis is a gladiatorial battle that's dressed up as a vicar's tea party." And I think that's just a great description, because it's one of those few sports where you are completely one-on-one. They do allow a little bit of coaching from the sides, but when you go out on the court, you really are on your own. And no matter what's happening, what the score is, how the match is actually evolving. You've got to work it out for yourself as a player, because there's no one else there to help you, and you've got these moments when you're sat down on court for the 90 seconds rest you get at the end of every 2 games, where you're trying to work out, and you'll see a number of players that have made notes that they refer to in their bag. Andy Murray's a great one for that. You'll see him sit down at the net, and he'll look in his bag, and he'll have his little piece of paper out that's just to reinforce him some key points about what he was trying to do with his tactics and his play. And it's an unusual sport in that respect. And the other thing, it's an unusual sport in that the only way you win is by winning the last point. So football, you could be 3-0 up. You could let 2 goals in, but you end up winning the match because you got the 3 goals in early. With tennis, you have to win the last point, and with that comes a huge amount of pressure to close out matches, which is why you see players that look to be winning comfortably suddenly get tense at the end because they're close to the line, but they're not over the line. You can't be timed out. You can't wait for the 90 minutes to be up. I'm winning, so therefore match is done. It's the end of the match because the referee's blown his final whistle. You've got to win that final point to close the match out, and that makes it a real pressure sport. And I think that's part of the attraction behind it. But I think, my experience of dealing with tennis players, and we've had them come into the Shrewsbury Club for a long time now, is look, of course, as in all walks of life, you get all sorts of different people, but tennis players generally are really appreciative of the support that they get. They don't have, unless they're literally at the top end of the sport, the high levels of affluence and the lifestyle that a lot of other sports people have. So I think they're just more appreciative and more relatable probably than some others. But like everybody, they have their good days and their bad days, Alex, like we all do. So they're a bit grumpy sometimes, just like we all are.
I bet you've seen some divas over the years, though, haven't you? Strawberries.
Well, of course, our tournaments are in the winter, so strawberries aren't really a thing. Yeah. But I know you only mention it as a joke, but actually, diet is one of the most important things. And the other thing that's unusual with tennis is how do you plan for it? Because you never know unless you're the first match on in the day, you have no idea when you're going to play. Because matches follow one after the other, so you're going to be third on centre court. But actually, that means that the first match could be done in an hour, and the second match done in an hour, and so therefore, you're on at 12 o'clock, let's just say. Whereas alternatively, the first match could be a 3-hour epic, as could the second match. And so actually you're not on till 5 o'clock. So literally it's very difficult. So players are kind of having to look at the scores in matches before and decide when they're going to eat, because actually I don't know when I'm going to be going on. So you can imagine there's a few players that sort of like, right, I need pasta and I need it now. And of course you get a bit of that, but generally.
What's in those little sachets that they smashed on? I saw Djokovic sucking on these sachets like in between sets.
Yeah, they're like a high energy gel, basically. So it's sugar on speed, basically.
So Pro Plus.
So it's the sort of thing you'd never give a 5-year-old if you were looking after them for the afternoon, because it would make them completely hyper. So it's slightly more sophisticated than that. But yeah, effectively, it's an energy gel that is designed to deliver energy into your body quickly and effectively.
I imagine that's really easy to digest as well, though. I imagine after that, you're like, whoa. I mean, like, it is, you talk about gladiatorial sort of face-off. It really, I mean, like, I am the clumsiest guy at the normalest of times, crossing the road, whatever it is. Like, if some guy's attempting to cave my head in with a ball at 100 mile an hour, at that moment, I'm going to mess up. Absolutely. The reflexes you got to have as a tennis player are just incredible.
Yeah, it's a really interesting sport, actually. I mean, I think that's part of the attraction of it, in that it's a real all-rounder sport, because you've got hand-eye coordination, right? So straight away, it's like a racket and a ball. So you've got your hand-eye coordination. You've got the strength of and power of kind of, a serve or trying to hit the ball particularly hard as a return to kind of get it past your opponent, get through your opponent. So you've got the speed of wanting to kind of hit the ball hard. You've got flexibility, and it's a very lateral game. So, a lot of sports are used to running forwards or backwards, but tennis, there's a huge amount of side to side, which brings a different range of kind of flexibility and movement requirements. You've got the intensity of a point, which, on average, a tennis point might last anything. Well, someone serves an ace that lasts about a second and a half, but you can have a really long rally that could last a minute or so. But you're going to be running and sprinting from one side to the other. So you've got the sort of the sprint and the speed of it, but then you've also got the endurance of it, because particularly in Grand Slams and men's matches that are 5 sets can easily last over 4 hours. So you're playing a high level of sport for 4 or 5 hours. So you require a huge amount of endurance. So it's got endurance, it's got speed, it's got flexibility, it's got hand-eye coordination. It's a real all-rounders sport from that perspective. Very different, of course, the game that I play.
That's why I always feel sorry for the players when they get interviewed on stage, on the court, in front of thousands of people on the TV. Like, how was that? And they're like, "Well, how do you think it was?" I think they always keep themselves so composed. Djokovic at the Wimbledon final was like, "Yeah, fair play to him. He was a difficult opponent, did really well, but I've won, a few of these. It's fine." I'd have been like, that guy, I hate him. Like, you'd be so angry, wouldn't you? After putting all that effort.
Yeah,
in.
Absolutely. I think that's where they're conditioned. So I think at that level, they kind of have some stock phrases that they know they need to kind of bring out. I actually thought, to be fair, I thought just use that as an example, but I thought Djokovic's speech at the end of that match, which, as you say, was absolutely on a knife edge. And obviously there's a whole thing about Djokovic trying to get the record in terms of the number of slams, and Alcaraz of the new kid on the block that's trying to sort of take the crown off him. But I thought the recognition that Djokovic gave him, and the way that he kind of acknowledged how well he played, I thought that was a really impressive moment from Djokovic. He's not always perhaps handled himself as well as he could do in the press, but I thought in that moment, what must have been, pretty demoralizing for him. And the question is now, is he going to win another slam? Because actually grass is the one surface that you would expect Djokovic to be able to last the longest. And now he's been taken out by Alcaraz on grass. You've got to think, well, suddenly going into the US Open, you sort of almost feel like Alcaraz is now the favourite, whereas Djokovic was the favourite. So it's interesting how it's switched around. But yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it's tough to control your emotions at the end of a match, but I guess that's part of what they're trained and conditioned to do.
How are you doing for media? Are you drumming enough attention to bring in Sky and BBC and stuff? What are you going to have there?
Yeah, so that's down to the LTA. So that's something that we don't have direct control over. What we've set up and we've agreed with them is that we are going to have what they call a full TV production. So what that means is multiple cameras at various different angles. It means a commentary team. And then how it seems to work, and this is a whole new world for me that I don't get involved in at all, but how it seems to work with TV sports rights is that you very much then try to push those out to whatever channels will actually take them. And so I know negotiations are going on at the moment between the LTA and the BBC for the Shrewsbury event to be on BBC Digital. They're also talking to Sky, who are going to be taking the US Open, but I think that's a little bit early for Sky getting into tennis, allegedly. But I think this comes a bit too soon for them to get involved. And they're talking to obviously things like Tennis TV, which almost inevitably will take it, etc. So yeah, for us, we are fingers crossed that the BBC take it. It would be wonderful, and we will be ready for them with some. We've already done some little video clips to promote the town, so we'll be ready to kind of be able to show Shrewsbury at his best if we get the BBC to put the thing out.
Well, we have this saying that's been going around, I think, since about lockdown, actually, on the Biscuit, and that's Biscuit before BBC. And so, like, if you wanted a bit of a hand with a bit of coverage, we'll happily help you out. I think we've got 10 weeks
Yeah, absolutely. We would love to have, what we would love to have is a pop-up Shrewsbury Biscuit podcast at the event. We think that would be really cool, Alex, and we'd love you to be there and speak to some of the players, speak to the crowd, speak to the officials. Some of these umpires that you see, I mean, they're doing that for a living. So it's not just they have like 2 weeks off work and go and umpire at Wimbledon. So a lot of the line judges and umpires that you see at Wimbledon will be also at Shrewsbury. So they've all got some great stories to tell of when they were in the chair and certain finals around the world. And, I've just been out to Croatia with my family for a very fortunate and lovely trip out to Croatia. And while we were out there was an ATP 250 tournament on. So we went and had a little look at that. It was really close to the beach. It was just a perfect kind of tennis event to go along and see, but there was like 6 officials that were there, either line judges or in the chair, that had all been at Shrewsbury in October. So there's some officials that have a great story to tell as well. So we'd absolutely love the podcast to be a big part of it this year. We talked about it in the year that the event didn't happen because of the pandemic. So if you're up for it, let's make it happen this time.
I'm sure we can be free, and I'm gonna spend the next couple of weeks. Well, I'm off to Turkey next week, so we'll get that out of the way first. But
don't think about it then. Enjoy the beach and Turkey.
I'll put a team together. I'll bring some people in, and we'll make a go of it, because I've got like the mixer here that can sit in one place, and we have the H6 that can walk around. So we can have a team in one place and somebody walking around getting interviews as well. So we can put a team together. So that'd be really, really good. I love that.
Absolutely.
What's it? I mean, like when you're dealing with huge quantities of people, I'm not just talking about like people that are going to come and watch, the audience and stuff like that, but you're talking about tennis players come with a huge entourage of people at times. How do you accommodate people like that in Shropshire? I guess with you being Mosaic, if you play new spas, a few hotels and things that they can use.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think, with the tournament hotel, so we have an official tournament hotel, which has been the Prince Rupert for a number of years, and the players love it because it's right in the centre of town. So it's perfect for them to kind of, you don't often get that in tournaments there. You're often put in, hotels on the outskirts of town and all of that. So we put them up in the Prince Rupert, and then the main sponsor of the event is Budgeon, and they provide us with player transportation cars. So we basically take the players around from the Prince Rupert back into the Shrewsbury Club, or if they want to go anywhere else in town, then they can do so. A number of the coaches and the support staff will then, pick up with Airbnb, and they'll sort themselves out, because it's only the players that get their accommodation paid for, not their support crew. So they'll be sorting themselves out thanks to, the likes of booking.com and Airbnb. And then, it's really just a case of, pushing out and promoting all the various different hospitality areas that are around the town that people can stay at. And we know that, a number of spectators come from afar to watch this. So that's how we sort of accommodate them in terms of where they stay overnight. In terms of in the club, because what's really important for us is that it's a really good event for us to host, but we don't want it to detract from the experience of the 6,000 members, and that's been quite hard to manage at times. And if I'm honest, at times we haven't done that as well as we could have done. So this year particularly, we're building a hospitality village next to the club, which will have the basics like toilets, but it will have a player zone where we're putting amusements in for them. It'll have a player cafe, official zone, a ball crew zone, because we need ball crew from the local schools, and they need somewhere to go and put their stuff. We're going to have an event space. We're going to have a tie-break cafe. So this year, as a spectator, you'll go into the hospitality area, and you'll have refreshments and toilet facilities and everything in there, and then you'll go through to the stadium seating that we put into the club. But the rest of the club, the changing rooms, the hub that we have at the club, which is our social space, all of that will be left for just the members and obviously the players and the officials. So we're going to try and manage that a bit better by creating a better experience for the spectators with easier access to some of the key facilities that they want. But also for our members, less kind of their facility being overrun with 500 spectators coming to watch a tennis match.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, I can imagine how that would be. You come in on the gym on the one evening that you've got free, and it's like, what? Yeah, I've done that once
Yeah.
when I was going for a health kick. I was like, I rocked up to the gym. I was like years and years ago, obviously, and it was closed on New Year's Day, and I flipped my lid, and I was like, New Year's Day is closed. Like, what? You get so like focused on your routine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know this is a tennis tournament coming up, and you're a lover of all sports. Are you at all threatened and worried about pickleball, because it seems to be taking off on an incredible rate? Everybody's talking about pickleball at the moment.
Absolutely. If it's not pickleball, and then they're talking about paddle tennis as well. So, look, my stance on all of this is that, which kind of goes back to what we were talking about actually when we started this conversation, Alex, is that, I just think the more that we can do that makes it attractive to people to be active, the better. So pickleball is a great sport. It's got, it's obviously derived from tennis. It's probably easier to play than tennis. So that's great because it actually gets people that wouldn't be able or wouldn't necessarily think about picking up a tennis racket can certainly go and play pickleball. And there will be some people, I think, that having got their confidence at pickleball will progress into wanting to play tennis. So you might end up with more people playing tennis. But I just think that the more we create fun games and sports that get more people more active more often, the better that actually is. So yeah, no, I'm excited by the growth of pickleball. I love the fact that it's getting greater coverage, and I hope people that are intrigued by it. And as I say, it has it's much more of an entry level kind of sport. You can play that much easier and have a much more enjoyable game if you haven't got your racket skills than say trying to pick up a tennis racket. So it's great, more strength to pickleball, more strength to paddle, which is sort of a combination of tennis and squash. And I'm confident that tennis will thrive alongside that.
It makes me super competitive when I play it. Like, I was chatting, big shout out to Jackie Jordan from TV guest, but who we've worked with for quite a bit, and she's helped me out with some amazing guests, and she's wonderful. She really is. But we were chatting about it on Facebook the other day, and she was like, "Oh, I'm playing pickleball." I was like, "Lady, if you come over to the UK from the US and we play pickleball, you're going down." Prepare to be doomed. Like, I love it. It's so good. Like, I could be the most polite person, have a really nice conversation with someone, but as soon as the game starts, it's like, you go down. Like, I love it. It's so good. It's really good. So yeah.
Excellent.
Obviously this is a huge event. You put a lot of effort into it. I know you've got a huge team. How many of you of the team, the W100 team, are there at the moment that's working hard?
Yeah, so I mean, to be fair, there's probably about 4 of us at the club at the moment that spend time on planning it. We've learned over the years to try and separate it out. So we create a team now that looks after the W100 and allow the guys, that run the club normally to just carry on running the club. Obviously, there needs to be some crossover. So yeah, there's about 3 or 4 of us at the moment. We absolutely should recognise that the event wouldn't happen. Not only do we need sponsors, but we need volunteers. And every year we get about 80 volunteers who sign up and help us to put the event on and do a whole raft of different things and activities that we need them to do: court stewarding, accreditation desk, looking after the spectators and pointing out the way, etc. So the volunteers are critical to driving the players around, as I mentioned before, is another big area as well, where we rely completely on volunteers and are very grateful for that. And we also work as someone that I know really well, but with Beth Heath and her team at Shropshire Festivals. We talk about this being a festival of tennis, and Beth is the absolute legend at putting on festivals. She does it brilliantly. She's world class at it. And so when we knew this event was coming up, we knew we had to get Beth involved if we wanted it to be really good. And so we also work with her team, and this year she's bringing some of them in on a more not as volunteers, as paid for people to help work with us as well. So when the event's on, there will probably be about 80 volunteers and about 10, 12 staff working totally on it from the Shrewsbury Club perspective. In the build up to it, we're working alongside Beth and Claire at Shropshire Festivals, and there's a couple of us at the club that put all the planning of it. And to be honest with you, it's a 12-month job. So as soon as this one's finished, we'll be off and rolling for next year's event. So it's an all year round commitment that we try to fit in around all the other things that we do, running health clubs and across the country. But I'm going to be honest, it's one of the bits of my job that I enjoy. That's quite cool.
I love the guys from Shropshire Festivals. We work so well together. Beth, I saw a couple of, when was it? A week ago or so. I was meant to go to the petal fields. They got the petal fields, and they invited me to the pre-opener, and I was meant to go, but my son was playing in Matilda of the Seven, so I couldn't go. I said to my wife, I was like, I've got a thing tomorrow. She goes, no, you haven't. She's like, we're going to the theatre to watch your son play. I was like, oh, okay, wife. Okay, sorry. So,
well, Beth's been talking about doing this petal fields for a while now. So she's wanting to be doing it for a long while, and she's really passionate about it. So, and it looks absolute. I've seen the stuff on social media. I've not had a chance to go either myself, but it looks amazing, and certainly all the feedback on social media from people that have been that it's a great event out. But everything that team does, they do really, really well, and so we're so delighted that they're part of what we do at the W100, and they add quality to it in a way that we just couldn't even imagine. And she comes up with some incredible ideas and pulls it off, and it looks it makes the event the unique event that it is, and we're really grateful to work with Beth and her team.
Well, I'm really excited for this, and I do wish you and the team the absolute best with this. I know you're going to knock it out of the park, and you've got the support of the Biscuit wherever we can be to help you support it. But if anybody's listening to this now and wants to gather as much information as they can about the event, are there any places they can go, Dave?
Yeah, we've got a website, we've got a dedicated website, which is World Tennis Tour Shrewsbury.com. So that's World Tennis Tour Shrewsbury.com. And if you go onto there, it's got all the details of all the events, how the schedule of matches works out. And there is a link through to the ticketing website. Tickets are already on sale. We've already sold about £8,000 or £9,000 worth of tickets for the events, which is well ahead of where we've been before. So I think we've got Marketa Vondrousova to thank for that, because she certainly raised our profile when she won Wimbledon. And I think a few people wanted to get in there. And actually, we're close on towards the end of the week. We're actually getting towards selling out on some of the tickets, and I'm sure we will. We did last year, but only in the last week. But they might sell out a bit sooner this time around. But it will be. That's where you need to go if you want. We'd love people to come along and join in. They'll be really close up to the action. They'll see some incredible tennis. And World Tennis Tour Shrewsbury.com is where they need to go.
Well, I would love to be there with a Biscuit because this is something I've never done before. Never seen, like I said, professional tennis. And I think it's just going to be something that you need to see in person. I feel like watching on telly is great. You can still get a sense of the nerves and the tensity of it all. But like being in person, you can feel it in the air. I definitely want to. So get your tickets in, folks. Sounds like they're going to sell out quick. Dave, thank you so much. It was on short notice. We organised this yesterday. Thank you, Scott, on Instagram, one of your guys, for organising this. And it's always nice to catch up with you, Dave. It really is.
Likewise, Alex. Yeah, you're right. The Evolve Media guys have done a great job in helping us this year as well. So, and they pulled this. They pulled this together, as you say, at really short notice. So it's been great to chat to you. We absolutely will have you. We'll have you involved. So I'm sure people can look out to enjoy a W100 tennis themed Biscuit podcast sort of around the end of October, early November next year. We'll definitely have you as part of it. And I would say that I just have to say, if when you watch tennis that close up, it is different level. But that's the one bit of feedback we get from so many people, is that, I didn't think I was into tennis, but having seen it this close up, it's been amazing. So yeah, there we go.
Brilliant. Well, Dave, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. Thank you to the guys from Evolve Media for setting this up. Much love to you guys, and best of luck with this amazing event. I'll let you go. And
thanks, Alex.
Listeners, make sure you stick around. I will end this in a separate bit now. But thank you, Dave, for joining us on the show.
Cool. Speak soon, Alex.
So there we go. What a great interview. That was great catching up with Dave. He's a great chap. Yeah, we very nearly slipped into just sports talk there, because I love my sports, But I'm glad we managed to talk about the fundamentals of actually running an event on the scale of this. The ITF World Tennis Tour W100 is coming to Shrewsbury between Sunday the 15th and Sunday the 22nd of October. So that week there is when all the magic is going to be happening. And like Dave said, there's going to be a lot of fun happening throughout that week. They're going to turn it into a tennis tournament and a festival. There's going to be lots going on. So make sure you go to worldtennistour.shrewsbury.com to buy your tickets, to look about what's going on, and to find everything else out that you haven't heard already on this podcast. It's going to be a great event. And as you heard from Dave, it looks like we're going to be there. I kind of guessed that might be happening. So yes, I'm really excited about that. And there are a few people that, I spoke to straight after this, and one of them is Adam from the TWS podcast, good friends of ours. And I was like, these guys do sports, maybe we can collaborate. I don't know what's going to happen, but that's what something like this does. It inspires you to go out and want to do something cool. Anyway, I want to move on to sponsorship for the biscuit. If you have something if you have a business, if you have an event, or if you have a thing you want a voice for, we're looking for locally sourced adverts to put on our show. I am not charging a lot at all. In fact, what we're charging is very cheap compared to other advertising models around. We have space for 20-second adverts on a podcast, or 2 40-second adverts. Now, listeners, this isn't going to ruin the show. Okay, this is just a way that I can create a symbiotic relationship with local businesses to help out them and to us as well. Put a few pennies in our tin and let you guys know about their great businesses. It's not going to be all about MeUndies and whatever podcast things that people advertise on the big podcasts. It's all about locally sourced stuff. So if you would like to find out more, please drop me an email at shrewsburybiscuitpodcast@gmail.com. I'd be happy to talk to you about that. Like I said, I don't charge an awful lot at all. So be glad to hear from you. Also, we have a brand new website that's being built right now. It's all been finalized. There's going to be blogs on there, like monthly blogs. I'm going to start writing about guests I found fascinating throughout the month. Again, there'll be more advertising opportunities. There'll be links to new shows, some of our classic shows. There'll be a bit about the biscuit. There's going to be so much going on. So follow us on social media, and I will share all links and all news about that on there. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter. We're on Threads. We're on LinkedIn. We're on Instagram, which is my favorite, and we're on TikTok. So wherever you want to follow us, give us a follow, and all the news about the brand new website will be on there. I'm going to leave you guys. Have a great day. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Peace out.